We start in Greece. We're less than 24 hours until a historic referendum on whether or not to accept another bailout and its accompanying austerity measures. Officials have begun setting up polling stations across the country. Booths will open at 7 a.m. local time for the more than 9 million people who are eligible to vote. 4 opinion polls published on Friday had the yes vote marginally ahead. A fifth put the no camp with 0.5% in front. However, last night at least 25,000 people rallied in Athens for the no vote, with reports around a third of that rally for the yes vote. Solidarity with Greece in favor of the no vote and no more austerity were held around Europe and around the world. In Germany, several activists interrupted the German Chancellor Angela Merkel's speech chanting no, while in Ireland, protesters outside the central bank in Melbourne, Australia were called for solidarity with Greek people, and in Belgium, people marched for the no vote to Labour Square. Also in Germany, thousands marched. One banner reads, "Debt slave no more." Ecuador's Justice Minister provided further details on the violent attacks by opponents of the government that took place on Thursday night during protests in the nation's capital. The minister showed a video proving that 6 police had been hospitalized following the violent attacks by opposition supporters. The violence followed revelations that the right-wing opposition supporters, in collaboration with former chief military intelligence, were seeking to use Thursday's protest as a cover to take over the presidential palace. In a press conference late Friday, Minister Serrano said that so far 331 people have been arrested for the aggressions against security personnel. Tens of thousands of Hondurans took to the streets on Friday night for the 6th consecutive week of protests to demand an independent investigation into government corruption and for the resignation of President Juan Orlando Hernández. The latest round of torchlight protests were the largest yet in the ongoing movement, bringing some 6,000 people to the streets of the capital city of Tegucigalpa alone, with rallies also taking place in other cities. As evidence of the corruption continues to appear, the government continues to persecute members of the political opposition.
After proof was presented last week, the Vice President of the National Congress, Lena Gutierrez, was embroiled in a corruption case. Her arrest was expected. However, she is still walking free, and Rebecca Santos, who was the finance minister during the former President Manuel Zelaya's government, was called to trial over the misuse of public funds in 2009. Since then, she has been under police watch, and her trial was reopened for a possible new verdict. The political opposition believes this is another action that tries to divert the attention of the lack of punishment of current public officials.
We have been presenting ourselves in the courtrooms. I have an order to come here to the courts every week, and in these 6 years I have been obeying those measures. I believe that it's important to clarify what has happened, to see the case impartially, and to not cede to the pressures that the country is going through at the moment, because that would be very worrying.
5 members of Zelaya's cabinet that were victims of the 2009 coup d'etat have been called to trial in the last month. One is in exile to avoid prison, and another was sent to prison last week, but no current public officials that participated in the health system corruption scandal have been arrested. This has increased the indignation of the protest movements against corruption that has grown in the last month.
There is rage in the face of so much corruption, rage in this corruption and criminal government that was also part of the government before, and that's basically the same thing. They have called for a hypocritical dialogue with the protest movement, but we're not going to sit down at any time with this government that has stolen the health of the Honduran people.
As Rebecca Santos and the other leaders of the political opposition continue to turn up to the courts, the street protest continues on growing, but there is still no answer or punishment of those who participated in an embezzlement that cost the lives of almost 3,000 patients in the Social Security Institute that died after not being able to receive proper medical care or the correct medications. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
With its continuing high rates of violence, Mexico has now fallen to the bottom of the Global Peace Index. While the authorities attempt to portray the country as being secure, many ordinary Mexicans express a very different opinion.
Since the government fails on its duty to protect the citizens, people have to try to protect themselves.
If we do not protect ourselves, no one will. We have to defend ourselves from all these crooks.
People have the right to be protected by the state and not to have to protect themselves while the state supports the criminals.
El gobierno no proporciona las garantías de seguridad que el pueblo necesita. Nos podemos armar.
This week, a U.S. filmmaker is premiering Cartel Land. It's a documentary that looks at how Mexican citizens have struggled to achieve such security and justice in the violence-stricken state of Michoacán.
Everyone was sort of talking about the story as a sort of very simple hero-villain story of citizens rising up to fight against evil. And in the beginning, it sort of seemed like that. It seemed like that. And over months and over spending time down there, the lines between good and evil became ever more blurred.
The film documents the self-defense groups that rose up in 2013 against a drug cartel known as the Knights Templar. For some security analysts, the blurring of good versus evil was accentuated by the state's attempts to co-opt and promote certain militias.
The government contributed to this confusion when it imposed a law which defined who the good guys were and who the bad guys were. And interestingly enough, those who were meant to be the good guys were seen by most of the population as the bad ones. And those who the state said were the bad and in jail were the good ones.
The same confusion affects the government's decision to keep more than 40,000 troops in the streets in its so-called war on drugs. Current federal authorities are investigating 884 cases of police or military abuse, including torture and extrajudicial killings. Clayton Cantel Sur, Mexico City.
Facts that have marked the course of history. Productions designed in the English language and made for the English-speaking world. This is Documentary. Watch it on telesur.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there.